I'm ED-SKaR, and welcome to another little bit of a live stream with some 3D modelling. That is, of course, if I'm actually streaming. It claims I am, so let's continue. So as the stream title, or should be the stream title and the thumbnail, suggests, I am recreating a pump grip for the Lanard Quad shot. Which is a relatively simple affair. As long as I don't lose the screws, that doesn't help. Interesting. Well, I'm not convinced I'm even streaming at the moment, so if anyone is there, say hello in the chat. I need to make sure I get my calipers. Right, so the original grip for the Lanard Quad shot is not particularly well designed for high spring loads, and that's probably because it wasn't designed for high spring loads at all, being a kid's toy and all that. So what we have are these two very thin pegs. And those pegs go through the two holes. Just can I get some light on that? So inside that slot, those two holes are on the internal priming bar, and the two pegs of the pump grip go through there, and that's how they interact. So as you pull back the pump grip, the internal bar moves as well. However, these two bars themselves are just two very thin bits of plastic, and they've just and furthermore they've got some holes. They're actually hollow all of the way through. So what a lot of people do is put in metal pins through them to strengthen them up, or even replace them with metal rods completely. And I'm going to design this particular pump grip around the understanding that you are going to be replacing them with metal rods. So anyway, let's get cracking. So I want to see the most forward position and the most rearward position. So it looks like at the very front of travel, and again, I moved this like that for a reason. Right, now maybe we can see. So at the front, this hole is actually pretty much touching the front of the slot. So I'm not going to be adding any material around the front of the pin on the front of the pump grip in line with the slot. I'll put some on the outside, kind of in this channel here that runs all of the way down, but not actually in all of the way down into the slot. The rear pin, sorry. Alright. Let's get that to the back. How do I hold it there and also show you? Let's see about putting it through the other side. There we go, so that's the rear position of the rear pin, and it looks like there's quite a bit of space around that for quite a lot of material, so the rear surface will be much better supported than the front, which is fine because they both do essentially the same job. So, starting with the diameter of those two holes. Which, hey RZ, how you doing? So the inside diameter of these holes is actually quite a bit bigger than the size of the pegs themselves, which is not helpful. So the hole is about 5.5 millimeters, and the peg is interesting. So that says 5.5. So how come there's so much gap? Ah, that's why it's tapered. Okay, I take back what I said. Yep, the pegs are tapered. At the very end, they're thinner. At the base, they're about 5.5. Okay, so when it's fully installed, where is the middle? Ah, the middle's... yeah, okay, that makes sense. So what there is at the end of the peg is slightly thinner because they hold into two holes on the other side of the pump grip, so that explains that. Printing out Chronomag. I still don't own a Chronos. I made a holster for one, but I never actually owned one. So let's go with a 5.5. What's 5.5 in Imperial? .21. I'm sure there's something that matches. Clowny, if you do end up watching this recording back, I do hope you find an appropriate pin for this, whatever 5.5 millimeters turns into in Imperial. So the spacing between the pins, I'll actually measure on here because it's easier to do. Looks to be 45.5, really? That's odd. Let's go to 45 and see what that looks like. It might be 45 actually. Yeah, it's 45. So let's go 45 millimeters, draw another 5.5. Sorry, yeah. 5.5 millimeter circle. I should probably look at this in plan view. There we go. Seems a bit more meaningful. I'm going to say probably the slot is also 5.5. It's very hard to measure things on the Lanard Quad shot here because it does tend to flex rather a lot in just about every location. For example, can you see that on stream? That amount of flex, and then even that there, and the grip just twists. The plastic that this is made from is, shall we say, quite thin. Very thin. Oh yeah, just squeezing it in the middle. It's like a water bottle. However, 5.5mm does seem to be about right, because if I run the pegs through, they basically fill it up completely, and there's very little wobble. So, do this neatly for once. And for once, I mean, that's never going to happen. Right, how much further back can I go? So I've just marked on where the rear peg goes at the fully primed position. That sort of gives me an extra 10mm I think there, so if I just go with 8, because I want to leave quite a bit of room at the back. Homely, how you doing? Please get me. Right, easy way. Was it 5.5? So it's a 2.75. There we go. So that's the full size of the very inside part of the pump grip, but that actually goes into the slots on each side. You have avoided being productive all day. Well done, sir. I have been quite productive today, given that I've been at work for most of it. Yeah, we're done now. So, pull that by. It's hard to really tell. So 1.5. I'm going to go with 1.5. So that then is the piece that goes inside the slot. So we can build up from that what goes on the outside of the slot. And I can actually do it on the other side because that's probably easiest. (2D mode, sketch mode, there we go. So I'm going to need larger by how much though? Only a very, very small amount, because the... Yeah, I think that's 0.5mm of clearance on each side. Yeah, 0.5mm it is. Unfortunately. So if I bring that 1.5, I'm not sure what that said. 0.5. Yes, good. This is big enough that I'm happy just to leave it as is. So 0.5, and that should line up. Yep, it does. Good. At the front here, I can actually make that quite a bit longer. There's plenty of space up at the front for a bit of reinforcing. So if I even go by even 10 mil, there's so much space there. Plenty of space. From here I want 6.5, I think. Yes, I got it right. So now this all comes up by as much as I want, I think. Alright, I need to clear the lower bar here for the, it's kind of the support for that. I think I'm going to have to model around that. But first, let's bring up by 5. Right. And I should at some point duplicate this and put this on the other side as well. When do I do that is a good question to ask. I don't want to take it apart to be able to measure everything, all of the internal bits, because the actual priming arm itself, I don't want to have to measure that. What I could probably do is, creaking of plastic is quite real. .5. Okay, I'm happy with that. Why is that a separate piece? Is it going to be upset if I try and combine them? Yes. So why have you ended up being a separate piece? You're a separate piece all of the way through. What? Why? Yeah, it's building it as a separate piece. Why is it building that as a separate piece? Why can you not just play along? This software sometimes really gets on my nerves. What if I pull it up to this surface? You see, there it works. That builds as a separate piece. Why? Why do you build as a separate piece? And how do I convince you to be one piece? It doesn't like that circle. Alright. Of course it did. Operation failed. There we go. That wasn't so hard. Sometimes tricking this software into doing what you want it to do is far more effort than it should be. No, that's not. So this is currently 7.5 millimeters apart. Whereas it should be, I think it was 11.5 we measured it to. Doing this around the microphone is not easy. Unfortunately, I have a studio style microphone, which means that if I don't talk directly into it, you can't hear a thing that I'm saying. Yeah, I'm getting 11.5. Hi, Kitten Claus, how you doing? So to get to 11.5, 7, 8, 9, 10, 4 millimeters more. Excellent. Right, I did that right. Good. And of course, if this is wrong, it can be sanded down. If it's too wide, it actually doesn't matter too much because the metal pins that go through here are going to take the force. If it's too narrow, it can just be sanded down and yeah, not be too much of a problem. Right, now then, how do I want to go about building the kind of loop around the bottom of the kind of pump rail, I guess you'd call it? Because I definitely want to be out here. Right, let's bring up all the geometry up onto this line. I can use that. Yep. Oh, this is my favourite tool right now. This is something I've only picked up fairly recently. There we go. So from here, so the rail is 21 and a bit millimeters, so I want to make it 21.5. Where's my center line? Good question. 21.5. Did I do that deliberately? Is that what I said? 21. Yeah, that was it. Interesting. Okay then. I have no idea if I did that deliberately. I can't remember that long ago. It was at least 7 minutes ago. And my memory doesn't extend that far. So also want to be 12.5 from... Which line is that? That is that. And it looks like... If I build it like that. I think that will work. Ah, no, but... That looks more like it. So that is the cavity. Hi, Grim Gaming. So this is the cavity for the rib that the pump grip goes on. You know what I can do? You know what? Being sensible, like doing things that are obvious and logical. If I put the original pump grip back together, how does it go that way around? I can compare that shape to that shape. Yeah, I've got that right. Yeah, that's fine. Let's do some measurements just to be sure. It's got kind of 12 and a bit between here. I've ended up with 11.5. It's a little small. Here is 21.5. Not 22.5. So it looks like I've made everything just that little bit tighter. Which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Because this is going to Clowny. Clowny's very good with pins and hardware and sanding and making things fit. So having it slightly oversized means that he's got the material that he can work with. So I don't have to get this dead perfect for a printer that I don't have, because I'm not printing this either. Yeah. So overall, that's a thing that I should go for. Right. Do we want to stay with the original profile of the pump grip? Given ergonomics and all of that kind of stuff that I usually complain around constantly. It's a reasonable pump grip. It's not bad. I know that Clowny has slightly shorter fingers than mine, so that's probably fine. I might make it a little bit bigger just because a nice big pump grip is always good. Particularly with higher spring loads. Yeah, I'll make it a little bit bigger, but not by much. Right. So if that's 12 and a bit, it actually goes out to kind of 40 here. Where's my set? Handy. Gave me a centre line. it's rounded, so but at the back here, let's give you a close-up of what I'm looking at. So I'm thinking of the top of the pump grip and how to shape it. And while this part of the shell here, where my thumb is now, that's rounded, down at the bottom here, down here, there's an extra bit of material and a corner there. So if I was to enlarge the pump grip upwards, it wouldn't be able to get past that. And so that would be a little bit useless. So I'm going to have to go flat along the top. Bear in mind that I'm working upside down on this current sketch because, you know, of course why would I do things sensibly and the right way up when I can do things upside down? So if I go 20 each way. The grip is just a cylinder. Like the general profile there is just a circle. I want to add some details to it. So if it's 45, how much bigger would I make it? So I'd make it there, which would be, yeah, kind of 55. So to go from 45 to 55, halfway is 50. So I want a 50mm circle that intersects these 2 points. And let's get it to about 50 and type in 50. Bam. Yeah, that's about right. So from here, where are we? We're working from the back. Okay. I probably should have measured this from this surface here so that I have somewhere to measure. So what I'm actually going to have to do is work out where that plane is. So from that center point, 17.2. Odd numbers. Weird numbers. Yeah, I've got a rapid strike that I'm working on at the moment, and I haven't. It's got 2 cages. It has also got 2 motors for the 2 cages. That's not one each. That's just one of the motors. One of the cages wide up, and the other one isn't. But it's not wide up to the rest of the shell. It's just wide up to itself. So it's a bit useless. $17 and 17 and a quarter ish. Yeah. That's actually alright. I can leave that as my... That's lucky. It will end up with 4 motors and 4 wheels because it is a 2-stage build. But at the moment it does not have enough motors or enough wheels. Like I said, I've got both of the cages printed. So this I can pull all of the way to... Oh, you don't like that, do you? That's better. Oh, good grief. Hey Nathan, how are you doing? Yeah, it's probably at the just about functional but not pretty and also not printable stage just yet. I definitely need to split this because if you printed it solid, you wouldn't be able to get it onto the shell. But also I want to add some ergonomic touches, maybe some aesthetic ones too. Let's start with the aesthetic, because that's a fun word to say. So what's my overall length here? 75. What's my overall length of the original? 91. How have I got a grip that is that much shorter? Ah, okay. Okay, I understand. Right. Let's show you what I've done. Right, can we all see? Can you see the two pegs here? And if I rotate this around so that I can show you the two holes for the pegs. And if you see the space at the front there, from that peg to the front and from this peg to the front, is about the same. I mean, it's not the same, but it's kind of roughly similar. Whereas on here, the space from this peg to the back is kind of similar to what I've drawn there. But the space from this peg to the front is huge. So actually, I can extend this out a lot further forwards, like a lot further forwards, and get a much larger grip so you can get more of your hand on it. Move towards. Is that the PCB that you put over the top of the tabs of the motor and just solder it together? Because they seem like an excellent idea, because my soldering is somewhat messy, shall we say. Somewhat. So from the front peg to the front of the grip, I have 35mm that I can go to. Now the front is that, yes. So it is currently 13.25, and I can go to 35, so I can add another 20mm onto this. There. And that is now 95, and the original one is sort of 90 something. Yeah, close enough. My intention wasn't to recreate the original grip, but I do have to fit the grip that I'm making onto the same place, and so a lot of the geometry ends up being the same. I said geometry again. Someone was trying to get a drinking game going for my videos. Anytime I said the word ergonomic or geometry, you have to drink. Unfortunately, it would kill you, so please don't. Can I get into that? Oh, I really can't. Okay. Do it the slightly more difficult way. Can I have an angle? No, I can't. Okay. That was far too difficult for what I wanted to do. There we go, that makes it a little bit stronger. Right, I got massively distracted there. What was I doing? Oh yes, I was doing the finger grooves. Well, not so much finger grooves as just some texturing so that you have just a bit of friction on your hands. What noise is that? Let's move that music over to something a little bit nicer. ECS 10. You know that's a description, not a name? Do you mean the modulus? Or do you mean the demolisher? Because the demolisher was a 10, wasn't it? Actually, I don't think the demolisher had that designation. So it had something else. How deep do I want them? Kind of, they're a bit too deep on this. Sort of, if I make them sort of 1 mil-ish. I don't know why I'm going with an 11mm spacing, but I'm going with an 11mm spacing. Purely by accident. Can I fit one more in? Yeah, that's fine. Oh, that's wrong. That should be that. No, it shouldn't. It should be these. There we go, that's better. Revolve around that. Cut. And 360 degrees. Bang. Magic. Sorted. Although it sort of hasn't really played nice up here. Well, that is sort of cool. I know what I can do. If I draw a box just there, and a sort of equivalent-ish box over there, and pull these with an add up to the other surface, that then fills in both sides the same way. And that's cool. Yeah, no one really uses the ICS or ECS or IX designations because, firstly, the C for clip is wrong because none of the C's are actually clip-fed guns, they're mag-fed guns. Because Hasbro refuses to learn the difference between a clip and a mag. How fancy do I want to make the front of that? Not very. Let's go 5 mil, see how big that is. Yeah. 7 at the front. That's alright. How harsh are they going to be? Yeah, I can live with that. See, this is the point where I just go crazy and fillet everything. Yes, it's like ships in some ways. That the class of a ship is the first ship in its class is also the name of its class. In the same way that the modulus, the modulus is the name of the first gun in the modulus line, and it's kind of a bit annoying in many ways. I'm gonna have to do this weird 45 degrees offset to a tangent, extend that out. this is far too complicated for what is actually being achieved. But up to and then the other side, I can just grab that line, and then I'm done. How's that? What did you think of that? That's all right. Sort of. Right then. How far did these... Yeah, I'm going to have to pull these in a bit longer, a bit deeper, sorry. Well, it comes from the definition of the word magazine. Because a building can be a magazine and a room on a ship can be a magazine. A magazine, by definition, is a place or object where ammunition is stored and is transported from or fed from. So a magazine with a spring both stores the ammunition and feeds it. Whereas a clip, in the correct use of the word clip, it's just a twist of metal that holds bits of ammunition together, and therefore is not a magazine because it does not feed anything by itself. Lanard has some really, really cool designs. Like, this is the quad shot, and the original cylinder on it has 4 positions, and each position has 3 darts. So you get a pump action revolving shotgun, and that's cool. And then in this particular case, it's got an 8-barreled, partially 3D printed and PETG. You can just about see it. Extended barrel set. And as soon as I figure out the seal on this thing, this is going to hit a reasonably decent power. The Lanard Huntsman is a particular favourite of mine, although in performance terms, it is literally impossible to get that thing to even 20 meters per second. Just give up, put a flywheel cage in it. It's the only way to get any decent power out of that. The what's it called? Boomstick. The boomstick. That one's one of my favorites because that has a humongous plunger tube, and it has a single nozzle. So unlike the what's the X-Shot one? The X-Shot Eliminator, I think it is, their double-barreled shotgun. It has 6 holes on the front, so as it rotates, you can get air leaking out of it uses one, and then air can leak out the other 5. Whereas on the boomstick, it's only got 1 hole, and that hole moves from side to side to line up with one of the 2 barrels. So you only have 1 air seal at any point, and you only have 1 hole, and that's where the airflow is going. Boomsticks, Lanard boomsticks, are a lot of fun. Right, now I need to split this because the only way to attach this onto the shell of the triple shot is by splitting it apart, because obviously part of the shell here is thinner than the grip. Let's just go ahead and split it then. Why are you there? What are you? Why do you exist? Odd. I don't know why, but whenever I build anything, I inevitably end up with the two sides not matching. Like, it doesn't matter how careful I am to make sure everything matches on both sides, and I use all of the same procedure, all of the same processes, and yet it always ends up being different. Because reasons. Okay, let's go. One. And let's draw a box from that. I literally put a point here so that I could use it. Thank you very much for getting rid of that. Yeah, it's there. Let me use it. Thank you. Two. That's better. Yeah, zombie strike long shots aren't particularly valuable. I mean, it's a long shot, so there's plenty you can throw at it to make it pretty decent, but in comparison to the other colours, it's the one that was produced the most. I think the production of the original production of the zombie strike long shot was 10 times the production of any of the previous long shots in total, and that was just the first run of the zombie strike long shot. I could be wrong on that, and of course that's conjecture anyway, it's not proven. Right, now that I've got it to come apart, I need to find a way to make it attach back together. Because we can pull this apart, attach it to the grip, put the pins in through the priming bar on the inside. But then we also need a way to hold this together. And what I'm probably thinking is a set of screws and some nuts. It's probably the best way to go. And it is how the original was put together. Do I want to reuse the original screws? Screwing a quite sharp screw into 3D printed material doesn't sound like a particularly good idea, and it's not particularly long either. No, I don't think I want to use the original. Thinking is happening. Thinking is happening. Given that the this is being designed for Clowny, and again, as I said previously, he's very good with screws and bolts and hardware and that kind of stuff. That's kind of his thing. I could probably give him screw holes and nut holes that are just about right, and he'll be able to sort something out in because I don't have imperially measured parts. So I think what I'll do is I'll just make something close enough, and I'm sure Clowny will be able to make it work by and if worst comes to worst, he can drill it out to make it larger, or he can fill it with epoxy to make it smaller. Yeah, I'm not gonna fret too much over this. So let's at least make it neat. Weird numbers. 9.4, so 4.5. Thank you. Do I want to put it in the middle of there? No, I want to put it higher than that. In fact, I want to put it almost at the top. Yeah, if I center it there, then we can put a 4mm hole. Yep, that's good. This is Design Spark Mechanical, which is sort of something I'm moving away from as soon as possible, because it's good and it's free, but there are other better bits of software out there that are also free. For slicing, I use like a 7-year-old version of Cura because I can't be bothered to update it. If I put in a 3.5mm hole into each of these and pull those, can I get that? Seriously? 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 You're gonna do me like that? That's better. There we go. Because that then gives a surface on the inside that we can screw the screw head down on this side. So I'll make it 3.5, so I'd need to make that 6. No, 3. Better. Good grief. Control Z is my favorite tool. Wonder what way, what orientation would be best for printing. Yeah, I'll work that out later. Right. So, assuming we're using a nut, let's get a 4.2 thing going on. Yes, I know, Alice. I'm no good at this. Where's the ban person button? There it is. That's close enough. Right, and then if I draw that back in, has that worked? Yes, it has. You're welcome, Ken. Mr. Nathan and Alice both did that to me, so you can suffer it. Yeah. I would love to have Autodesk Inventor, mainly because that was the piece of software I was trained on. But that is a £7,000 piece of software per year, because you can't just buy it, you license it because it's a professional piece of software. Why are you not letting me use the surfaces? Darn you. Yeah, but so am I. I mean, that's not true. I'm a gremlin and no one likes me. I need to make these a little bit bigger, I think. Ah, it didn't break horribly. Good. That one also didn't break. Excellent. Yeah, subscription-based stuff. You're absolutely right. What I can do here, because I've made this a very thin, I mean, it's 5mm, I think. But what I do is if I bring that up quite a bit, you end up with a lot more printed material holding it together, and also a longer section of screw. So that's probably a good thing to do. So how much further out do I want to take it? Probably 8. So how does that come in? I mean, that clears the gap, but it's still well recessed that even if you have the nut here and then an overhang of bolt, you can still cut it short enough that it's not going to stick out the other side. So if I do the same here, 8, and I get sort of close enough. So the bolt will need to be 8, 16, 26, probably around 30mm bolt. That's a long old bolt. I'll do it. I'll do it nicely. I'm just hoping that any of this converts into Imperial even remotely, so that Clowny can actually use this without having to resort to drilling those out and replacing them with something else. Yeah, we'll see. Why are you so thin? Why are you so thin? Why did I spend so long making that when I can just do that and it'll be strong? Okay, fine. Are you going to do the same? You are going to do the same. I like it when it does the same screw up on both sides, because it means that it's actually symmetrical. Usually what happens, it'll screw up on one side and screw up differently on the other, and it annoys me so much. Now, should I also make a locating surface on the inside of here? Because at the moment we've got 2 pins which won't be held in securely, and then we've got the nut and bolt that will be relatively tight, but because they're running through like that, it could twist. Yeah, I kind of do, don't I? But that's easy. In fact, that's trivially easy, because I just draw a random box, pull it by 1 mil. Copy the box. And then cut it in by 1.1, and then I also need to enlarge this to make sure that there's actually enough space for the print tolerance. Yeah, that should do it. Alright, so that should, once printed and cleaned up, this kind of peg block surface will fit into there and prevent it from sliding around. I'm not going to stop you from screaming about capitalism. Like, I think I'm done. If anyone has any bright ideas before I finish this. Yes. Also, I keep saying nice things about your work. I think that's why we're friends. Do I clean that up as well? I think I do. I think I do. Yeah, that's just... I'm just going to leave that there. That's mean, but I'm just going to leave that there. Can I smooth out this entire top? I'm going to save before I do this, because this is dangerous. But can I smooth out this whole line in one go? Stop that. Stop that. Deselect. Thank you. Imminent crash. Crash incoming. You tried. You tried. I don't know what you tried, but you tried. Okay, fine. See if I do it bit by bit. That worked. Yeah. Yeah, it was a bit of a special fillet. The thing is, it wasn't actually what I'd selected. I mean, it was one of the lines that was filleted was one of the lines that I'd selected, but everything else was wrong. That looks alright. And that gives a nice smooth top surface as well. So when you wrap your fingertips and thumb over the top, that's good. I think I'm done. Right. I'll be sending these files over to Homely any minute now. I'll do that after the stream. But until then, is there anything, any questions, any post-stream analysis? Suggestions for why this is never going to work? Yeah, a friend of mine's got something like 50 katana, yeah, 50 katana mags, and was complaining about how Vorpal mags are just far too much effort. So I've given him a Vorpal mag, and he's like, okay, this is better than a katana mag. Make me more. But I am tired. Well, have a nap. Send fires and missiles. I don't know why that came up, but that came up. See, this is one of the many things that annoys me about Design Spark. These lines here, I've deleted the sketch that they are on. Like, there's no sketch up here. They should be gone. Yeah. The problem is he's got... I'm not sure if it's the breach that he's done or the adapters, but none of my Vorpal mags, except for that one, fit in his long shot. And so I was forced to use all of his katana mags that day, because I was borrowing his long shot as well. But mid-game, Ratman, I was out of ammo and Ratman chucked me a mag and he's using Vorpals. And I managed to get it to load each time by priming it back, pushing in the magazine as I slid it forwards. So I think that it's just his adapters are seating the mag like a mil and a half too low, because the breach is, as the breach comes forward, it catches on the feed lips. Catches on the feed lips because the mag's too low. So I reckon if he just made himself a new adapter that holds the magazine a mil and a half higher, he wouldn't have a problem at all. And then he could have Vorpal mags and be better. Seriously fancy filament. I got some seriously fancy filament recently for a project that I've been doing for 6 months, 8 months. I don't know, a long time. I'm way out of frame because I'm slouchy. There we go. My that Strife again build. Yeah, he is a little awkward sometimes, but that's fine. Actually, he's giving me the Hurricane that I'm going to be doing a complete rework, and I'm going to 3D print everything on it, including the shell, most probably, to the point where we don't need to buy any of the parts from Worker anymore. I'm making a thumb tab for the magazine. I'm making an extended battery door, motor cover, holster particularly, based on the same design as the my Hammershot and Kronos holster. I still don't own a Kronos. I need to get a Kronos so that I can print it out and test it again, because I made some changes since the first one I built, but I haven't actually printed the full. I printed one prototype and it worked, but I never printed the full version of it because I gave the prototype and the Kronos back to the person who let me borrow it. Anyway, back to the other conversation. This is the fancy filament that I got, and it's supposedly fluorescent orange. And that's a UV light, by the way, just in case you're wondering. And it kind of does. Actually, that looks, on camera, that looks awesome. That actually fluoresces. But in real life, it doesn't. But then if I put it onto, that's now white light, that's normal light, that's now brighter. And it snapped. Great. Right, seeing as the chat's gone quiet, I'll finish it there, and I'll have these files over to you homely in a few minutes. Which way up do we print it? I reckon this way up, because you want the lines that way for the strength. Yeah, you want to print it this way up. You might have to chew up a little bit of support in there to clean it up, but that'd be fine. Yeah, that's no problem. Print that way up. Right, so anyway, I'm ED-SKaR, always have been, and thank you very much for joining me on the live stream. Bye.